Hey guys, it's been a while since I uploaded a podcast. I just decided to count how many I've done on Apple to see what number to shout out. And this is episode 13. Thank you everyone that rated the podcast. It has 5 stars currently on Apple. I don't know about the other platforms, but if you can rate it or leave a comment or however that works, do that. I think it helps out. This is episode 13, Stevie Randallyn. She came and worked with us for a couple of days. We had a great time. And we talked about her life and times in tattooing, you know? And I think the biggest takeaway from this is her perseverance and her work ethic. And I've said time and time again, I think what makes a tattooer is perseverance. The ability to like stick it out, like whether they should or shouldn't, they're in it. There's so many roadblocks and reasons to not tattoo. And there's so many... It's a hard business. And when you have a stroke and lose the ability to use your tattoo hand, the business can be a lot harder. But Stevie has relearned how to tattoo and relearned how to draw with her left hand. And she's back. She's back like I think 9 months in, killing it. And she's not just doing stretched out spots like forearms and shins. She did a tummy tat here. She's doing real tattoos on real people. Like, no bullshit. Her work is incredible. If you're not familiar, Stevie Randallyn on Instagram, I'll tag it in the podcast show notes below. If you're watching the video, it's written on the screen. Here's some of her work. Here you go. And without further ado, let's just get into the video or the audio. And here you go. This is the Stevie Randallyn episode.
Can I hang it on there? Like, kind of fold it inside out? Put my hand in it? Whoa! Yeah. And then when I take it off, like I flip it upside down, and then I pull it inside out. I did a stick and poke Playboy bunny, and it was like where you could get those like little shitty stickers for like tanning, and you like put them on your hand.
Sick.
And you like tan the little Playboy bunny. Well, I put the stickers on like me and my best friend's ankle, and stick and poked Playboy bunnies, and I tried to hide it.
Did you stick and poke around the sticker?
Mm-hmm. And I tried to hide it from my parents, obviously. And it was like...
Where'd you put it?
On my ankle.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your hip.
No. Otherwise, that would have been a lot easier to hide. Yeah. So then I got caught because it was dead ass summer, like super gnarly.
Yeah, you're not hiding
and my dad still lived in San Diego, and I was visiting my mom out in Arizona because she moved out there.
Yeah.
And we were going to my stepsister's softball game, and my mom was like, "You're not wearing pants." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to wear shorts." And she's like, "You're not wearing pants. Like, it's 115 degrees outside. Put some fucking shorts on."
Right.
So I did, and I tried to like cross my legs and keep my ankle covered and hide it and everything like that. And that didn't work. So then my stepdad ended up being the one who ended up seeing it, and my mom ended up, you know, raging, and she called my dad and was like, "How could you let her do this? Like,
man,
blah, blah, blah." So my dad decided that I was too much of a rebel, and he was like, "You can have her. I don't want her back."
Fuck.
So my dad packed all my stuff in like a box the size of like the corner of this room.
Uh-huh.
Just like threw it in there, dropped it on the doorstep, and was like, "Later." And which was a good thing because I wanted to live with my mom.
That's how you ended up back in Arizona?
Yeah, and so that's how I ended up back in Arizona. And my parents were like, "Your friends are bad influences. You're moving to Arizona."
Was it the friends or was it you?
It was me.
It's always that way.
And
it's always that way.
Yeah, and I definitely like lied about the friend that I got in trouble with so that I wouldn't get in trouble with that friend, so I wouldn't be grounded from seeing her. And I blamed it on another friend, and
I feel like I'm always friends with the wrong friend because whenever there's a story like this, it's always like the parents always blaming the wrong kid, but I never know who the fucking right kid is on the other end of the story. I'm always looking at the fucking wrong kid in these stories.
My mom literally to this day, like she'll try to be like, oh, like your friend was to blame and da da da, and I'm like, no, it was definitely my idea, and like, I don't know, and it's not like anything was influencing me or like.
So how do you?
It's just like being a kid.
But like you were obviously aware of tattoos. Like what? How did?
I was, but like my mom has like one shitty like she got it in a house tweaker tattoo.
So she can't say shit.
No, definitely not. But you know, it's for me and my brother, so it's like it's like a banner. It says Stevie, and like the bottom says David, and there's a rose in the middle of it.
That's kind of tight.
No, it's actually like if you look at it, it's like, well, for a tweaker tattoo, that's pretty good. Like,
yeah.
And my dad's never had any tattoos, and definitely thinks like everybody that has them is like a thief and a robber and a drug dealer, and you know, you're just a horrible person.
Fuck.
So, and you know, even when I got into tattooing, or he heard that I got into tattooing, because I hid it from him for a really long time, because he's very judgmental.
He's like, I told you so. I fucking knew it.
No, he was like, you should be a tattooer that doesn't have any tattoos. And I was like, no, nobody would respect me.
That's a weird thing to say. Yeah.
And he was like, no, like it'll be the coolest thing ever. And I'm like,
dads don't understand.
Yeah. And so he was just stuck on that. And like, even till this day, like he'll just ignore the part where I'm tattooed and the part where like everything that involves me, and he'll like be like, oh, it's, you know, good for you. Like now that I make the money that I make,
right? He
won't say anything bad, but he's like definitely not for the fact that I'm tattooed.
Weird.
So my parents weren't excited about it, and they thought that moving me to Arizona was going to keep me away from it and keep me out of trouble. Mm-hmm. But obviously that didn't work because I became a tattooer.
Yeah, how long after that did you get reacquainted with tattooing?
Well,
I mean, obviously it doesn't count.
Yeah,
before,
I didn't know I wanted to be a tattooer. I mean, I drew my whole life. Mm-hmm. And I knew I wanted a job with art, but I never even considered tattooing because my parents like never like let me know about like tattooing really. Like I knew that tattoos existed, but I didn't really know anything about tattoo shops, anything about the culture, anything about anything. And once I started to become like a teenager and kind of got into it and like liked tattooed people, and it was basically listening to like punk rock and hardcore and everything like that like I started seeing tons of tattooed people, and I was like, right, I love them. I want to look like that. Yeah. I want to live that life. Like that I want to do that. What kind of job can I like do art, look like that, get paid? I want to do that. And it wasn't until, because I lived in Arizona and you can get tattooed. You know,
they don't care. Yeah.
At whatever age. Yeah. If your parent, you know, consents, and which my mom did. My mom told me if I got straight A's that she would let me get tattooed when I was in high school. And so I got the straight A's. I think she was banking on the fact that I wouldn't. Right. But I got the straight A's. So she had to take me to get a tattoo. Well, I was only 15. Damn. Yeah, I was young. It's a really bad tattoo, too.
Is it worse than the Playboy Bunny?
Oh, fucking way worse.
No way!
Like,
no way.
The shop had carpet.
Damn, Arizona.
Yeah. Damn. So, I got that tattoo, and it wasn't then that it, like, hit me. I honestly thought that I would never get a tattoo again.
Did you think your tattoo was sick? Was it, like, magic? Like, whoa.
No, honestly, okay, so my mom was so controlling, and she was like, you know how to get a skull or anything like that because it's too tomboy and blah, 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 and I just really wanted tattooed. Mm-hmm. So I was like, fine, whatever. Like, whatever she would say yes to. So I got these really hideous butterfly wings tattooed on my back.
Fuck yeah, you did.
And they were like the size of my hand each.
It's
like,
pretty big.
And so it was like way too big for my
like
first
your shoulder?
tattoo. Yeah.
You're flying. You got the fairy back.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So
damn, that's
yeah, 15-year-old mistakes. But then when I was 17, I went to get tattooed. And I was actually, do you know Kong from Steadfast?
Mm-mm.
Out in Vegas?
Mm-mm.
I ended up getting a traditional tattoo from him. And
Was that by chance or was that sought out?
no, that was it was sought out. He was like the
Whoa.
only traditional tattooer in the area, like in the tri-state area.
So a couple years later, now you
now
know
he
you like
lives in
tattoos.
Vegas and is a known traditional tattoo artist, but it wasn't like a. It was just the only traditional artist in the area and was the only one that I would want to get a tattoo from. And I went to go get tattooed, and I remember like looking at all of his books, and I asked like 1,000,001 questions. I was just like, how do you see what you're doing? What are you using? Like, why are you using it? Blah, blah, blah. It was just like question. And I remember walking out of the shop and I was just like, they get to draw every day and like paint every day. Like, that's what I want to do. I went home, told my mom I wasn't going to college anymore because I was like getting straight A's and was like on my way to go to college and was going to be like the first kid to go to college in my family. So she was not happy and definitely was bummed. And then I graduated high school 6 months early.
Really?
I took summer school on purpose so that I could finish school faster.
Just get the fuck out of there.
And start tattooing.
Whoa.
And so
You can't talk shit on that. That's impressive.
Yeah. So I graduated early, and then basically quit my job. I worked as a waitress at a 50s diner. And then quit that, and my mom bought me a really shitty tattoo kit.
Sick.
Off of, I think it was eBay back then.
Yeah. I got my first one, same spot.
Yeah.
$50. Supposed to buy clothes with the money, didn't
it? And she actually, supported me. Yeah. And so she bought me that kit, and then I basically bought it, and I went full-fledged.
Yeah.
And then I would just get tattooed and I lived in the middle of nowhere, so there wasn't a good shop to
compete with or anything.
Not even compete with. Like, there was nobody that I could go learn from.
There's no opportunity, yeah.
Yeah. So I just kept going and getting tattooed by other tattoo artists. And then
and were you traveling like Vegas or you going to Laughlin?
Yeah, to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then by the time, like during this whole time, I had the same boyfriend like all through high school. I was, one of those young kids that dates a person that's definitely shouldn't have been dating way older than me. I think I was like 16 and he was like 21 or 22 or something like that. And so obviously he knew a lot more, and he had tattoos and stuff. And he was friends with this dude named Rex Roxwell.
Sounds like a fake name.
I don't think it was his real name, but
his MySpace name.
Yeah, MySpace.
Sounds like a name I would make up around the shop, fucking around, whatever.
So, but he worked at Last Chance, and
cool.
I spent a lot of time in Last Chance, and I'd gotten some tattoos there, and I would do the same thing, and I was just like, "What are you doing? Why are you using this? Why are you using that?" Da da da. And because I never did an apprenticeship. I lived in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have that opportunity. And the tattoo artists were worse. Like
they weren't doing much different than you.
Yeah. They were just terrible. And the biggest shop that was known in our town, still to this day, the lady was always known I don't know for sure, for having hepatitis. And it was like, well, why the fuck would I go learn to that? Yeah, like, why would I go learn under that person, and like, why would I trust that? And so I just kept traveling and seeking out other people, and I ended up getting a job at a shop. They ended up being like two cholo dudes who moved from like somewhere out here, and they moved to Kingman, and they opened a shop, and they ended up hitting me up and being like, "Hey, do you want to come work for us?" And they basically kind of like pulled me, like I was never hired as an apprentice, and I didn't have to do any of those kind of things, but at the same time were teaching me basically all the things you would learn in an apprenticeship.
Right.
But then they were like, "Oh, okay," because I always knew from day one that I wanted to do traditional. But they were like, you need to know more than that. They were like, fuck that. You need to learn black and gray. You need to learn fine line.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do this. You need to do that. So they forced me, and then they taught me a bunch of stuff, and I learned that from them. And then I basically just kept chasing shops and opportunities like after that. And so I chased that in Kingman, from that to I mean, it was a traditional shop, but now that I look back on it, it was
right.
It was just like a hot rod 50s.
For sure. Cherry Creek stuff.
Yeah. And so I chased that, and I moved to Bullhead, and I probably spent a year there. And then I actually ended up in California. And then I tattooed there for a couple years. And then bounced around a million times after that, but I've always constantly just chased wherever more the opportunity was, because I was always trying to climb a ladder and get better, and
right.
So then I ended up all over the place, and I've gone back to Kingman a few times, definitely a few times.
Where's home of all the places you've been?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I like that gypsy life.
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
I definitely do.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to say home, Kingman's where my family is,
mm-hmm.
and it's where everyone that I would want to be next to is, but I hate the town.
Yeah.
Like, just because not enough people want to get what I want to do.
Just it's limited opportunity.
Or like, you know, people just don't care about tattooing the same way that I do out there, other than like, you know, my 5 friends that I've been tattooing for the last 12 years, they all get that stuff, but it's like, okay, well, that doesn't pay the bills, and
right.
that doesn't make, I mean, it's great, but it doesn't make me happy, like, all in all. So that's why I've pretty much always become addicted to like the traveling. It's like I can live there because like I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house there, and it was $750.
Fuck you.
So it's like I can travel wherever the fuck I want to and pay it in like 1 or 2 tattoos.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, especially with the internet, you can have a few people here, a few people there, and you can go there. And
well, especially like, you know, when I moved to this shithole, Visalia, California, which is where I had my kids.
Yeah.
So I was there for a couple of years. So I obviously established quite a bit of clientele out there. Then I moved to...
Wait, let's talk about like becoming a mother and tattooing and juggling that. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
And like, that's super interesting to me. I want to know about that.
Well, I think I was only tattooing maybe 2 years by the time I had a baby.
Yeah.
The first time. And...
Because it didn't slow you down. You were tattooing the whole time.
No, I tattooed. I tattooed literally until like the day before I was supposed to pop. And then I went back to tattoo, I think 3-4 weeks maybe after I had a baby, just because I can't do sitting at home.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to work, so I would put my kids in a car seat, take them with me to work, and I would literally use my foot and rock my kids and tattoo at the same exact time.
That's so tight.
People would be like, how are you doing that? And I would just do it and figure it out. And so
there's people that probably think that's like uncool hearing that. I think it's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I honestly, like, especially because like, so they say like inside of your belly, like certain noises are like nurturing for kids. Well, obviously me tattooing 24/7 every day, like that buzzing noise is like a white noise for my children.
Yeah.
So whenever I'd be at the shop, they would just pass out.
They like it.
Yeah. And
tat babies.
Yeah, my kids tattooed, I think at 3 and 4, and then I just let them tattoo me again. I don't know, during COVID, like in the middle of the summer.
That's so cool.
I had them tattoo me. My oldest, I definitely think she might end up like,
yeah?
As far as like artistically wise, like I don't know if you've ever seen, but I always post like my kid draws choppers like all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I could never draw a motorcycle like that when I was that age. I mean, I drew, but like not like that. Like,
Yeah.
she definitely shows me up, and like her like composition and like knowing the size difference of things and like just looking at people and then like drawing their body and their like everything being where it's supposed to be. And I'm like, and that was like when she was 9.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. They loved art.
How would you feel as a parent they became like, if one became a tattooer, is that something that's like,
it's not pushed and it's not wanted. Just because I don't even know what it's going to be like by the time my kids are old enough, let alone like just now, like starting nowadays. Like,
yeah. But there's also, on the same note, be never a better time to be a female tattooer now than before.
Yeah, that's true. But
like path has been paved a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not as terrifying as it once was. I told my kid, I said, pick a job that you want, not because I do it or because your dad does it or, you know, anything specific like that. Do it because you want to, or because you love drawing, or that's all you want to do. And, you know, that only be the reason. If, you know, you want to be a hairstylist, if you want to be, you know, a veterinarian, like, do what you want to do. So, you know, there's times where she goes in and out of like saying like, oh, I'm going to be a tattooer, like I want to draw. And then there's times where she's like, I don't know. So, and I mean, if you ask them right now, you know, are you going to get tattooed? They're like, no. Like, they know it hurts. They're around it all the time. They see people getting tattooed all the time. So they're like, nope, have fun, like, later. So, I think it's still too, like, wishy-washy.
Yeah.
But I would never push it. If my kids want it, cool. But also, if you don't want it, cool. I'm not going to push it on them, so.
Wow. I think I was never really exposed to tattoo at an early age, and I didn't know anything about tattoos or what until I got tattooed.
Yeah.
Other than like the TV shows.
Same.
But the TV shows don't show tattooing.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know. I thought like if you did tattoos, you had to know how to draw. But I mean, and I guess you do, kind of. Yeah. I can't draw, but like people would like. I didn't understand the whole idea of a stencil. I'm like, I thought you had to draw that face on the person's arm.
Yeah, yeah.
That blew my mind. And some of the best portrait artists I've ever met don't know how to draw a portrait.
Well, even if like the way they originally did stencils, that still blows my mind till this day. I'm like, you have to put that much effort into like.
Yeah.
No. Like,
yeah.
That doesn't sound fun.
Tattooing is getting easier for sure.
Yeah.
And like it's getting far more accessible, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where it's going, but I think, you know, we've had these conversations over the weekend working together, but I think it's not going in. I think it's going in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
You know, and tattooing's changing and like, oh, I gotta change with it. But I don't think tattooing is a thing to follow or to change with. I think there's many genres in tattooing now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, especially like these days, like it's not even just black and gray traditional and neo-traditional. There's like, I feel like there's just so many
well, even traditional,
categories.
What the fuck does that mean? What's traditional?
Yeah.
What tradition?
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, and then every artist is a different color palette, different line weight, different approach. Like everyone is competing.
Yeah.
Nothing is like falling together. Everyone's trying to outdo the tattoo next to the other one. Mm-hmm. So then tattoos are just clashing and battling. Yeah. You know, like a crazy bold one next to a crazy thin one next to a crazy bright one. You know, I think it's tattooing is so many things, and I think it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So you're running around, you're jumping around, you're traveling and things, that gypsy life, and then you end up tattooing in Vegas quite a bit.
Yeah. So my boss ended up seeking me out, which is Ed from Bad Apple, and he offered me a job, and I was interested, but I was, you know, nervous about moving to Vegas and like being able to sustain like life in a big city,
Yeah.
but as a single mother, because now I have like 2 grown kids and, you know, daycare and everything like that, and daycare is expensive.
Were you already going to Vegas often before this? Like,
I not super often, but I had guest spot, but not super often. So I had told Ed, I was like, hey, I want to come guest spot first. I want to make sure like the shop's a good fit and like I like it out there and everything, and then I'll make a decision. Well, I went to go guest spot, and by the end of the weekend, I was like, hey, I'm good. Like, I'm down. I'll move. And
did you already have your spot situated back home?
No, so that's much later.
Oh, okay.
So in all of those like moves, I've owned Blackwater 3 times.
And that was the name you always go with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time I'm in Kingman. I've owned Blackwater before, and I had it downtown once, and then I had it, you know, uptown, and then I have it now. Each time I end up closing it down, because I hit a point where I need to be around other tattooers who are better than me to push me.
Right.
So I leave because of an opportunity or a chance to work somewhere or work with people. And the only reason I've ever really moved back every single time and opened that shop there is because there's no shop for me to tattoo. So I've got to create my own. But the whole reason I go back is like because it's easier for me with kids or, you know, like my stroke situation.
Right.
I was living in Vegas and I was vacationing in San Diego. And I was supposed to be guest spotting. And I was supposed to go do a guest spot first. And then I was going to go get tattooed in Vista. Because there was a tattooer. He was traveling from Canada and he was just guest spotting. And I was going to go get tattooed by him. So I like had planned a guest spot and then like was kind of like doing a full circle and was going to go back to Vegas. Well, I went down like 2 days early and hung out with friends, and apparently, you know, everything went, you know, haywire because I woke up one day, and when I woke up, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was supposed to go eat breakfast with some friends, and I was going to go get ready, and I like get off the bed and I like tried to say something, and I don't even know how to like imitate what had happened, but it was like like it just it was like it came out wild. And the person that was with me was like, do you want to try that again? And I was like, never mind. And that came out normal. And then so they went to go get some coffee, and I like walked around the edge of the bed and like sat down on like the couch and was like reaching it down into my suitcase and like picking out clothes so I can go take a shower. And when I'm like reaching down, something just felt weird, but I don't know how to explain. Like, it wasn't really a feeling. It was just, I knew something was weird, but I didn't know what. And then I was like still reaching down, and I like went to go like pull the clothes and like come back up. And like I just went like fully limp, and I like kind of like fell down off the bed, and it like was like off the couch, and the couch was like smack dab next to the bed, so there was like not even like a half a foot to like fit in between the two of them. And so I was like pinned and stuck between them, and it's like dead weight, like trying to pick up somebody who's like asleep. So like one half of my body is like dead weight, and the other half of my body is like normal, and I'm like trying to pick myself up, but it's like not happening. And so I keep trying, and because of the way I was pinned, I couldn't get myself out. Luckily the person came back in a couple minutes later and was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I can't get up. And then like when it had happened, like I tried to yell for him, and so like now I know like all the things of why you hear about people having strokes. So like if they're in the shower or, you know, they're wherever and like nobody ever comes to rescue them. Well, it like completely knocked out my like vocal cords. I couldn't scream. It was like that night terror shit where like,
you're just stuck.
Yes. Yeah. So I couldn't scream, couldn't yell, couldn't anything. And then so the person helped me up and was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know, I can't feel this whole half of my body. But it was like really jumbled and I like couldn't super make sense. And
but enough to know what something's
yeah,
wrong,
like
sure,
I knew like nothing. I hadn't lost everything. I didn't lose everything until I got to the hospital. But you know, they told me like, oh, let's go to the hospital. And, you know, my reaction was, no, I'm a tattooer and I have no insurance. So let's just wait and see if it gets better. And, you know, because in my mind I was like, well, we'll just wait 30 minutes. And if it doesn't come back, then I guess we'll go. And luckily the person was like, half of your body's not working. You're going to the hospital.
And did you or that person have any kind of like, did you guys
knowledge on strokes?
Yeah.
No.
Because I don't know
about
strokes. My knowledge
comes
from you.
Yeah,
you know?
I had none. I've never had a family member that's had them, like, nothing. And, I mean, they guessed it, like, once we were, like, on our way to the hospital, but I was kind of in denial and was like, and,
did
like...
you know something was bad? Like, what was the severity
I
of the
knew
situation?
something was wrong. I didn't panic and, like, really accept it until I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, whatever, I'm fine. Like, this sucks. I can't feel stuff, but whatever. Like, I'm okay. Like, I never thought I was dying.
Right.
I never was scared. Nothing like that. But then once I got to the hospital, I'm waiting for, you know, like I get there and I get to the ER. And I'm sitting and waiting in a wheelchair. And usually you sit and wait a long time. Well, I got to cut every single person like immediately. And I was like, oh, okay, this is not good. And that's like when I was like, okay, I had a stroke. Like, there's no reason why they'd be pulling me back before all these people waiting in this waiting room.
This may sound like a dumb question, but was it painful?
No, not at all.
It was just like...
But because I've read a immense amount of stuff on people, like strokes and stroke stories and everything like that, especially like while I was in the hospital, I did not know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
So I watched every person's video that I could find on the internet, because no stroke's the same and they're all completely different and they all attack your brain differently. But some people's are painful. Mine wasn't painful. Like, there was nothing. That's why I didn't think anything was wrong. I thought I was fine. Like, I didn't think I was dying, but apparently I was. And it didn't hit me until, like, I got past the, like, triage, and they were, like, asking me questions, and were like, you know, what do you feel? What's going on? And I, like, told them everything, and I told them, like, what the past couple days had been like, and what I had gone through and all this stuff. And then, like, you know that, like, feeling that's like, okay, well, now I'm here and now I'm safe, so I'm going to give up kind of like thing. It was like one of those where I had, like, such a high, and, like, my shock was so high that I was good and I was golden. And then, like, once I got past triage and, like, they told me, like, yeah, you've had a stroke, I was just like, okay, well, they're going to take care of me now. And I, like, they started to cut my clothes off. And after that, I don't remember. Like, it's not that I don't remember, but it's like, I passed out because I had been bleeding out inside of my brain. So, because I didn't have a ischemic stroke, which is normally the kind that, like, the oxygen is cut off from your brain. And, like, that's usually the one where, like, you eat like shit, you take care of your body like shit, that kind of stuff. I had a hemorrhagic stroke, which is where a blood vessel blows and blood leaks outside of your head. And when the blood, like, leaks outside, whatever it touches, it kills forever. Like, completely.
That's so terrifying.
Everything that I've relearned, I have trained new parts of my brain to do the
So
things
most of
that
the
I
old
used to
parts
do.
is truly new.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all new. Like, I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. My vision was fucked up. Like, my eyes would catch, like, when I looked, like, side to side and, like, up and down, and my eyes would, like stay. Like, they would not, like, catch up with my head. When I got in a car afterwards, it was like being on a boat where it's just constantly spinning, and it didn't feel like it was going straight, and I couldn't even, like, look at cars, and, like, everything would make me panic. And I mean, like, when I first, like, because I woke up and, like, it's like that thing, like, where when you're at the hospital, like, no matter what, you're exhausted all the time, but then you wake up in the middle of the night while everybody else is, like, passed out around you, and you're like, "Okay, I'm hungry, wake up." Like, and then you sit there at, like, from, like, midnight to 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, what do I do with myself? Like,
Yeah.
it was like that. And so I would always wake up for, like, when the doctors came into the room and they would take me for, like, CAT scans and MRIs and everything like that. I remember I woke up and they had taken me for an angiogram, which is where they, like, put that camera, like, in through your artery that's
Okay.
next to next to your thigh or whatever. And,
Mhm.
like, I, like, look over and there's, like, a TV screen, and I can, like, see the wire, like, traveling through my body, and it's, like, in my brain. And I'm, like, looking at this thing, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on?
Crazy.
And so I'm like, why am I awake for this? Like, shouldn't you be past, like...
So in that moment, and I'm sure it's vague, but is it scary, or are you just kind of like...
No.
Are you making the connection, or are you just kind of like, okay, is that...
I mean, I knew what had happened, and I wasn't, like...
Like, how coherent were you in this?
coherent.
Yeah.
I mean, my family likes to say that, like, I wasn't coherent for any of it, and I...
Right.
You know, was passed out and exhausted and
That's
asleep
racy,
the whole time. Yeah, they were
on your
like,
side
you
wasn't
were
like, yeah.
passed out and you were gone for a week. And I was like, no, I wasn't.
It was a long time, and I was there.
Yeah, like, I was there. Just because you couldn't understand me, like, doesn't mean I wasn't there.
Doesn't mean I couldn't understand you.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Like, I remember my kids coming in
Really?
and crying, and,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, my sister was there, my best friend was there, my mother was there. I remember all of it. And I would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, and it would either be my brother would stay in the room or my best friend would stay in the room, but they'd be passed out. And like I said, how I couldn't yell, that, like, stayed for a long time. It took me, like, 10 months to regain, like, the power in my voice back. So, that just didn't really change. And once I, like, kind of regained my, like, because you're really sleepy because you bled out inside your head. So all the blood makes you tired. And, you know, the lack of oxygen inside your brain and everything else like that. So I was obviously sleeping pretty much 90% of the time that people were there. And then when I woke up, you know, I was hungry. And they won't let you eat because it, like, knocks out half of your body. And I mean, half of your body, like, peeing was weird. Like,
Yeah.
everything felt weird. Half my tongue was paralyzed, so that they're scared that you're gonna choke and that you're gonna swallow your tongue. So they don't let you eat for a while. So it had been 5 days since I'd eaten, and I was starving, like, absolutely starving. And most people will know this about me. I love grilled cheeses. I am a sucker for a grilled cheese. So that was the first thing in my head where I was like, I want a grilled cheese. Like, now. I'm starving. And, of course, they only wanted me to eat, like, soft foods at first to make sure that I could eat and everything. So I did that, and I, like, ate them, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm fine. Like, give me the grilled cheese. And I was, like, trying to explain for some reason to my family that I wanted a grilled cheese. But every time I said anything, it was just orange juice. I don't really like, I mean, it's not that I don't like orange juice, but, like, I don't ever ask for orange juice.
Yeah, you're not craving it that much that day.
And my mom's like,
more orange juice.
What?
You're sick of it at this
and
point.
it was just like, orange juice, orange juice, orange juice. And like, I kept saying like, just, it's like my brain would just like pick random words out of like a memory box and be like, whoa.
Couldn't find the right ones. But
Yeah.
Orange is close. So you can
Yeah. So.
Oh, but orange was descriptive. And that makes sense.
Maybe cheese.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, like, same thing with like, they asked me, you know, they came in and asked me, and they're like, what year is it? And when I first woke up, you know, I was like, 1969. You know, I was born in 1990. Yeah. Like, I don't know where I got that.
The Stooges are cool, and you're thinking about Iggy Pop that day, and you're like, raw power, you know,
so
cooler year number.
I have no idea where I got that from, but then they were like, you know, I travel a shit ton, which the hospital didn't know this, so the hospital panicked at first. And luckily my best friend was in the room and was like, you know, chill out. Like, she travels 24/7, because like, they were like, okay, well, do you know where you are? And I was like, Vegas, Texas.
But those were all valid
Arizona.
responses.
Yeah, and like, I had just been in Texas 2 weeks ago. I was in Vegas a couple days ago, and then like, so the last place I got to was San Diego. Mm-hmm. And then when I, you know, I was like,
You're almost naming them in order.
Yeah. And they were like, I don't know, like, she's gonna have to pass more tests. And then they brought in like flashcards. Yeah. And they were like, okay, like, and then it's like pictures. So I was like, oh yeah, I got this, like, no problem. And I remember the like flashcard was a hammock and a cactus, and I was like, okay, I know what that is. I live there. I'm from there. And they're like, cool. What is it? And I was like, I live there. And they were like, okay, but you can't pass unless you can literally say the word of what it is. And I was like, and for whatever reason, the only words that for sure stuck with me were cuss words. And I literally just was like, fuck you. Like,
and was that like,
I was angry. I was just angry and was like, fuck you. Like, and they were like, okay, well, you don't pass. And I was like, and like, they ended up telling me what it was. And I was just like, how did I forget that word? Like, how do you forget a word like that? And it's not that I didn't know it. Yeah. Like, so the one thing that was never taken away from me was like my creativity. Like, that wasn't ever like gone. So I kept like describing everything to the hospital through like, you know, pictures and like trying to remember words and like figure out words. I felt like Pictionary. And so, you know, like Pinky and the Brain, like that kind of shit. And it's like, you know, little rats, and like you can see them like in the brain and like doing stuff. Well, that's what it reminded me of. And it was like, okay, well, there's like these little rats inside of my brain, and there's like this slider glass door right here. And like, here's a table, and on the table is the word like spelt out. And it's like, I can see it in my head and like see it through this door. But unless I can figure out how to get through this glass door and touch the word on the table, it won't come out of my mouth. And like, that's how I was feeling, and that's what was going on. And I like explained that to the hospital, and the hospital was like, wow, we've never had anybody explain that like that. But that's like exactly like what people are going through that have strokes. But most people don't explain like in pictures. And I was like, that's what it's like. Like, the word's over there, and there's this glass door, and here's a maze, like a rat trap. And I have to figure out how to get from there to there. And it looks easy, but I can't figure out how to get the fucking door open. Yeah. And then, you know, once I can touch it, and then once I figure it out. And so, like, now I have that story. So that story of, like, not being able to remember it and it being, like, a big, you know, deal is how I remember the word cactus. And there's, like, that goes on for, like, so many words and so many things.
So when you think of... Well, do the words come to you right away now? But you almost have to remember the...
No, sometimes I still, like, trip over myself and, like, struggle with words. And, like, say if I was really upset, like, if you made me, like, seriously angry, I'll, like, lose the capability of speech.
Really? Mm-hmm. It's just too much stuff firing off at the same time.
Yeah.
Huh. I know the way you relate words to things, sometimes I remember things wrong and backwards. Like, for some reason, like the number 27, I think. And my wife's birthday is on the 28th.
Okay.
And I'm like, when's your birthday? Oh, 27th. Oh, it's not the 27th. I always think it's 27th. I'm always wrong, 27th. If it's not 27th, it's the 28th.
Yeah.
But the 27th always pops up before the 28th for some reason.
Yeah.
And I'll like, or maybe if someone named James, like, okay, that motherfucker's not named Kevin, so that means his name is James.
Yeah.
I do this weird shit in my head. Like, I have these overthought, horrible, like, descriptions to explain things. So I feel like I can kind of relate sometimes.
Yeah. It's weird. It's definitely like there's like a lot of things that like before, like where I relate to and I'm like, wow, that like, it's like a lot of the things that you think about like aging, where I'm just like senile people. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why they're like that. Like, even though I'm not senile yet and I'm not like that, I've had a brain injury and my brain is like, you know, not nowhere near where it was. And so it's a lot more like, you know, being an old person, my brain has been like completely beat up and is like, you know, only, I don't know, 50% or whatever of what it was kind of thing. So I'm like snappy, angry, and like the cold really bothers me, and it reminds me of like, you know, old people that are snowbirds. I'm like, oh, they're annoying. It's so stupid that they do stuff like that. And like now that I've gone through a stroke, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know why. Like, I'm in pain all the time. Fuck the cold. I just want to be in the summer and the heat 24/7, like, because what it is like your brain's misfiring all the time, so your muscles are constantly firing. So when my muscles are constantly firing, my knee is seizing up, my arm wants to like cramp up, and when it's hot, everything relaxes and I can just like walk straight and walk normal.
That makes sense. I remember when I had like a elbow injury and I would take like a hot bath or whatever, have some salt bath. I'm like, oh, my fucking arm is fine. Yeah. And I'd get out of the bath and I wouldn't be able to use my arm anymore. And it would only be, but in the hot water, I'm like, I can move my arm. I'm good. And then I'd get out of the bathtub and I couldn't turn the doorknob. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm
thinking about doing this. I've tried all these therapies and all these elective things. I have no idea if any of it has helped, or, you know, because I have obviously like regained a lot of stuff, like, and a lot of stuff that they said, you know, they pretty much were like,
but you don't know what you can point to specifically.
I don't know what I can point to specifically, but they told my mom, like, you're going to take her home and like, you're going to wipe her ass for the rest of her life. Like, you know, you should just get rid of her things. So my mom did. And I, you know, they got rid of my house very quickly. And, you know, I got out of the hospital and they were like, so where do we like send you for therapy? And I was like, I don't have a home. And so
how long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital, like the hospital, for 3 weeks. But then I was sent to another hospital, and I was in an inpatient rehab for 5 or 6 weeks. And then I was released after that. But when they went to release me after that, they were like, where do we send you? Do we send you back to Vegas? Because that's where I lived. And I was like, oh, well, my family got rid of my house. So, like, I don't know where to go. And my family wanted me to come back to Arizona, but I was just like, there's no stroke care facility. Like, because it's the middle of nowhere. Like, the biggest thing we have there is Walmart. Like, there's no Target, there's no nothing. Like,
make Vegas work.
Yeah, no, not even that. I was in San Diego and I was visiting, and like, luckily, I grew up in San Diego. Half my family's still there, my dad's side of the family. And so one of my aunts lives there, and my aunt is retired and doesn't have any kids at home and had an extra bedroom. And she was like, well, you could just stay here with me if you need to. You know, so that's what I chose to do. My family wasn't super happy about it because they wanted me to be there with them. well, my mother,
Yeah.
and it's not that I was like not picking her, and I definitely didn't mean to make her feel like that.
You just want to take care of yourself, and that was the best place.
But I was just like, well, San Diego can offer me a whole hell of a lot more than Kingman, Arizona can.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed with my aunt and did the therapy. Basically got better until I got better, which was, around when I started to figure out that I was going to do tattooing, but then COVID happened and it kind of like, shut down the shops and everything like that. So then I was like, okay, well then I guess tattooing isn't happening yet. So then I just moved back to Arizona and, chose to start over because I had clientele out in the desert and all of that. So I knew if I needed to start over with it and I needed to relearn, it would be easier versus like me starting over in San Diego. Cause I never I lived in San Diego, but never like in my tattooing career lived in San Diego. So I moved back to Arizona and was like, okay, well, I will just live with my mother, in the meantime, until this COVID thing like goes away. And then it wasn't going away.
Yeah, it's not.
And so then I got impatient and I wanted to start working and I needed to start making money again. And I was in a crap load of debt from not working for a year and a half and having 2 kids and, a million bills. And so then I ended up moving out on my own. I started tattooing again. And then I just kind of said, screw it. And then opened a shop.
Wait. Rewind a little bit. So there's a gap. So when did you get the stroke?
April of 2019.
That's so fucking recent.
Yeah, I mean,
you talk about it as a long
recent,
time ago.
but it's also at the same time because I'm like, it's like I feel like it just happened. Like,
yeah, it did.
Not that long ago. No, but I feel like 2 months ago, kind of like recent is what I feel like because I'm still recovering from it clearly. But I'm coming up on 2 years, in 2 months.
Whoa.
So
yeah, that's still incredible how fast. So, man, I don't know. You're definitely don't take no for an answer. you have that quality, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nothing slowed you down from tattooing, and clearly nothing slowed you down from tattooing. But so you moved to Vegas, and how long were you in Vegas? Like that was the opportunity. You moved to Vegas. We didn't even talk about that. What?
That was a great opportunity for me, and I had no intention of leaving, no intention of moving. But then the stroke happened.
How long were you there until?
I was only there about like a year and a half.
Okay.
And so, that's why I'm still going there every weekend. Yeah. So,
so you were there for a minute. You're settled in.
I love it. Yeah. I love the shop. I love my boss. I love my crew. Like,
yeah,
I love that shop. Bad Apple is definitely one of the best things that happened to me, but, me moving back to Vegas, it's not that it isn't doable, but like after having like no money and not paying bills and not being able to do anything for myself for a year and a half, I was just scared with like moving back to there and like, cause I have 2 kids, I have to fucking have a 2-bedroom. Like it's not like I can just find a studio and just say screw it. So it, it's pretty much, it's going to cost me $1,300 a month. That's what I was paying when I lived there last time. And right now I'm staying in a 2-bedroom apartment, in Kingman, and I'm only paying $695.
It's cheaper than the $750?
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck were you getting for the $750 before? How did it go down lower?
No, it's a smaller. It's a.
Oh, it was a 3-bedroom. This is 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was staying in a 3-bedroom and it had a garage.
Just like every time we refer back to Kingman, it just gets cheaper.
It was only $150 more. Like
damn.
What? And right now I live in an apartment, but it's like the cost of living and the difference between Kingman and Vegas is only like an hour and 15 minutes.
That's like your LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so close. Like you guys driving in traffic, like
yeah.
I could just do that, going 80
Yeah.
every day. So
And there's nothing on your way between you and Vegas, so
no,
it's
not at all. So
that makes sense.
but I wanted to stay in Vegas and I wanted to move right back, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, you know, I had saved up and I had made the move, like I had intended to move back there. But then, you know, COVID happened and the shop shut down. And then I had to use that money that I had saved to move back into a place. And I was just like, okay, well, now I can't do it like again.
Mm-hmm.
So then I ended up back in Kingman and I was tattooing and I was just like, okay.
But with tattooing, like getting a glove on, getting a glove off, how did tattooing begin again? I mean, you started over again back in Kingman. How did that begin? How did that?
I mean, well, it originally didn't start in Kingman. Like, I was still living in San Diego with my aunt.
Yeah.
And I got really impatient one night and was just like, this sucks. Like to the fact of like, I can't even fucking draw. Like, I was just like, I can't make art. I can't do anything that I would like. I actually want to do that I like. Like, I can't do anything. I can't ride a motorcycle. I can't. All the stuff that I like has been ripped away from me. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try to tattoo myself. And if I can semi pull it off, then I will like, you know, try to tattoo other people and then we'll see where it goes from there. So I had my tattoo shit because like I said, I was going down there to guest spot and then I was going to go get tattooed. So I had it with me. So it was in my car coincidentally. So I pulled my shit out, laid it out on my bedroom floor, sat down crisscross applesauce, and tattooed my ankle. And
Playboy Bunny?
No.
Damn.
I actually did a little chain, like a little, like,
of course.
Just a little sequence of chain. I'd actually done 2 tattoos. One night you know, mind you, I was drunk. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to try. And I like tried to do a heart with my left hand and it's fucked. Like, it reminds me of like that time that you try like first ever trying to tattoo, but then you're like laughing at the same time and it's like, yeah. Like, so, I did that first. And then like, probably a couple months later, I tried to do the chain. And when I did the chain, I obviously was sober and in my bedroom by myself and was just like super concentrated. And like the chain's like this tiny, like it's super small, but it took me like 45 minutes.
Damn.
And so I was just like, holy shit, like, but tattooing can't take that long. Like,
yeah,
that's not going to work out if it takes like that long. And so, but the lines were straight and it didn't look terrible. And I was just like, man, my tattoos were much shittier. My first tattoos with my right hand.
Ooh,
like,
right.
So this is a good sign.
Yeah.
And so I had basically decided like I was going to go for it. And so I actually decided to go to Hawaii in June. My best friend moved there. And my best friend also dates a tattooer who I used to tattoo with at a shop in Bullhead City, but he was in Hawaii now. And so one day when I was there, he was like, fuck it, you should do tattoos while you're here. And I was like, no. Right. And I was like, I'm too nervous. And like they were trying to get me to like actually do tattoos, like do walk-ins and shit. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm fucking way too nervous. Yeah. Like it's too soon. But they were like, okay, you know, we'll do tattoos on us, you know. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. So they set all the fucking shit up in the shop and I got to do a tattoo. So like I got to go to you know, Sailor Jerry, like Norman Keith Collins. Like I got to go to his grave like that weekend. And then we went to the tattoo shop and then they set everything up for me and like made it happen. And I tattooed my best friend and then I tattooed her dude. And when I tattooed both of them, like neither one of the tattoos were horrible, but they just weren't great. And I posted them and they instantly like, you know, I had like over 50 comments and 1,000 likes and everybody was like, oh my God, like hell yeah, I can't believe you're doing it. Like,
Yeah, that's so
keep
cool.
going, keep going, keep going. And then so many people were so positive, and like, even though my lines weren't perfectly straight, it was just like everybody was stoked. And that like gave me that little bit of like oomph that I
Fuck
needed.
yeah.
And so then I came home and I was like, okay, now I'm going to like dedicate all my time to tattooing. Like, this is like starting over again, you know? And I spent like every ounce of my free time like drawing, which has been weird because I used to only love drawing on paper and making actual art. But paper is such a bitch because I can't hold it down. And like, so if I'm trying to draw on the paper, it's like the piece of paper is like freaking out. And an iPad or a person, you know, or a piece of body part is weighted and it stays. So it's easier. So I pretty much only draw on an iPad now. But then I started doing all that like super heavily. But then I was trying to solve the problem of like, it wasn't tattooing that was the hardest part. It was like, well, how do I like set up and break down, and how the hell do I get the gloves on and off? Like, and how do I do it like professionally?
Right.
And it actually be sanitary and like
not put it in your mouth.
Yeah. So then I was looking up everything. I mean, I found this stupid like contraption that's like meant to put socks on for like people like after they have like drop foot, and you like shove your foot down and like it goes in and like you pull the sock like up this thing and like it's so it opens it all like huge, and then you slide your foot in and then like push it down. So I was like, maybe that'll work. So then I like pulled the glove and like, you know, it was like open huge and like shoved my hand in and it like worked. But then I was like, what do I drill this onto? Like, I gotta find like a countertop and I gotta drill it onto it. And like, but then I was like struggling to get the glove on there. And so I tried quite a few different things and like looking stuff up on the internet. Like, and then I tried like YouTubing, like, how do you get a glove on one-handed? There's nothing, by the way. At all.
We're going to change that.
Yeah. So then
Done. It exists. Look that up on YouTube.
Yeah. So I looked up everything, and I had a couple of people send me like things that they found like on the internet, like random things, and a couple of tattooers that they had ran into. Like, and then there was a couple of like, I think they were foreign. I can't remember. But they weren't like the greatest tattooers. And so I never reached out to them. And then I got a message from somebody that was like, hey, check out this tattooer. And it was this guy that goes by Southpaw Tattoos. And he had been in a car accident and his right arm got severed off. So and he was a right-handed tattooer, which is the same situation as me. So we didn't go through the same thing, but like as far as like our careers and everything like that, we're going through everything totally the same.
Yeah.
And so I messaged him, and I was just like, okay, either because like he had like, you know, quite a bit of followers. I was like, either he's never going to see this message, or he's not going to want to share his secrets, or like he'll be nice, but I don't know what else to do, so fuck it, I'm going to try. So I messaged him, and it did definitely take a little bit for him to get back to me, but once he did, he was like, of course I'd help. Like,
it's awesome.
It's not like you meet somebody who's gone through like something like you, especially in this circumstance, like whatever you need, like here's my number too, like text me whenever. And I was like, okay, like, blah. Like, here's everything I need. And I was like, how are you doing this? Like, do you have an apprentice? Do they put your gloves on for you? Are they always breaking your shit down for you? Like, explain. And, you know, he was like, no, he's like, I do everything myself. He's like, obviously I've found ways around things like, you know, that like new ways to do things. And then he was like, and for the gloves, I use a hook and like I hang the glove off of it and I just shove my hand in it. And that was all he told me. You know, I never saw a video or anything like that. And so I immediately went out to Home Depot, and there was like this rotating 360 like hook, and I bought that, and I actually put a little bit of cohesive bandage on the end of it because I thought that the metal was just going to rip through every pair of gloves every single time.
Right.
And I literally tattooed from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till 2 in the morning. And I did 8 tattoos that day.
Just on homies?
Yeah. Well, it's like I had a couple of cousins who were down. Like I tattooed one, and then like 4 of them were like, I want tattooed, I want tattooed, I want tattooed.
Is that hook the same hook that you use now?
Yes.
So you just found the right hook?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I did all those tattoos, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I feel normal. Like, cause like I had tattooed, but like it was so hard. Like every time that I had tried to tattoo, it was like I'd either have to be like, hey, like somebody come over, like can you put my glove on for me, like help me, you know, be sanitary about this. And you know, that just like wasn't working. So I was like, I have to figure out this glove situation first. Well, once I figured out that glove situation, that's what, like, you know, I ended up tattooing 8 people in one day. And I just, like, I knew I wouldn't be able to be doing that 24/7 because my body just won't tolerate me tattooing all day anymore. But it was, like, finding tattooing all over again.
Wow.
And I was just like, this was the best day ever. Like,
yeah.
Holy cow. And, like, I can do it. And you know, it was no problem. And like, obviously you've seen me use the glove thing. It's just like on and off, easy peasy, like 1, 2, 3. And so, once I figured that out, I started going back to Bad Apple, guest spotting, tattooing a couple weekends a month. And COVID didn't go away. So I was still like, there's just not, you know, there's no walk-ins. There's not enough business. Not enough for me to move back to Vegas yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up being like, okay, well, if I'm stuck in Kingman, I have to have a shop to work at.
Right.
And so I said, screw it, and opened my shop back up. And that I had in the past. And I swore I would never own one again, simply because I just don't like being responsibility for owning a shop. Mm-hmm. But I also don't like being responsible for other people. And that's probably the biggest part. So, but a big thing for me as well with thinking about all this, because technically, in all reality, the kind of stroke that I had is because I have a malformation on my brain. And if you have a malformation, you're born with it. It's something that it would have happened at some point of my life. It just basically is kind of like a tire in like going from summer to winter or winter to summer, and it just pops. Well, eventually, cause like your veins go like this, and like there's this little part that comes off the side of it, and that's the malformation. So it's kind of like a cul-de-sac. And the blood just like runs in and out really high, like pressure and fast, because it's supposed to go somewhere and not just like run in and out really fast. Well, that's what it is, and that's what it did. So it, you know, it blew. Technically, I have another one on the other side of my brain, and whatever, you know, side of your brain, you know. So I had a stroke on, it's like my right side was affected. So that means I had a stroke on the left side of my brain. So I have another one, but it's on the right side of my brain. So if that ever happens, which it's not guaranteed, and hopefully it never does, but if that ever happens, then that would knock out this side of my body. So, and I've got kids, and I'm obviously young, and you know, in my head, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be put in any sort of a situation that, and like, I can't I love tattooing and I will never give it up, and I won't, that will never change. However, I can't be that like tattoo from freaking 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
and do, 6 to 8 appointments a day. Like, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I am still recovering, so I still need to do like a lot of therapy and a lot of other stuff. And, a lot of shops, aren't super lenient about like, yeah, you can just come and go as you please,
right.
do what you want. So I was like, okay, well, maybe owning my own business for the time being would be like beneficial, like as far as like attacking all of like the recovery stuff that I want to do and spending all the time that I need to on myself. And then, I was just like, okay, well, if I make an established shop too, it's like I have that money coming in from that, so that I'll never be caught in that situation, and, like last time. And then I had to use my entire savings and it was gone, like, immediately. So that was like my theory with like opening the shop. But, ultimately, I won't stay in the middle of nowhere forever. It's just,
it drags you back though.
Yeah.
And it's safe.
Yeah.
It's safe and it's cheap.
It is cheap.
It's so cheap.
It is cheap, and I get to travel and do whatever I want whenever I want because of it. So.
It doesn't sound like, doesn't sound like a bad place to be stuck.
No.
It sounds like a place you start or
especially
you end
not
up.
with COVID. I was just like, oh, well, I'm glad I live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So
now since you figured out the hook glove dealio, how long from then till now we're set?
That was August.
September, October. That's fast.
Yeah.
And as far as like,
I would say my first month too, I wouldn't do anything like over like, right. And I wouldn't do more than lines either, because I wanted to like do that for like so long. And then I ended up meeting this other tattooer. His name's Devin. He goes by Devin Blood or something like that. He's I think up in either Sacramento or San Francisco, somewhere up in that area. He got shot in the head. Somebody was trying to like rob him and his girlfriend, and he was like on the other side of the door, and they shot him, and it like had, gone in his head or whatever. And I think part of it's like still in his head.
yeah.
So it kind of affected him the same way almost. And my boss, Ed, at Bad Apple, had told me about him, and he has a book like on the whole thing and like his experience and relearning stuff and everything like that. And like, so he had to switch hands and change a lot of things, like, but managed to figure out tattooing. So then I ended up reading the book and was just like so intrigued by it. And so then I ended up messaging him and was like, asked him a bunch of questions too. And, he had a lot of advice. And I remember I had posted, it was like maybe my 10th tattoo or something like that. And I was still doing like, I think I did like a rose outline, and it was like, yay big. And Devin comments on it and was like, quit being a pussy about it. Start doing shading. And he was just like, you're never going to get anywhere unless you just do it. Which is like exactly how it was like, with tattooing like originally. And I was just like, okay, and I just like went for it. And then, he was right. And
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. As far as like, one thing I was surprised about, because I feel like, half the job is stretching. I thought you were only going for like shins and outer forearms, but you're tattooing everywhere and you're making it happen.
So
how are you doing it?
That was like tricky.
Is it like a kind of a palm slash?
So for one, I like, a lot of people always panic because they think that like I want them to move, and it's like I don't want them to move. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm doing it like to make tattooing better for you. So like I'll set my hand down and then I'll like pull sideways with my hand, and then I like tattoo or like hold the machine like this.
Oh, so you're using the weight of your arm to.
So I'm using the weight of my arm and like the other side of my hand, and then I'm like tattooing and drawing like with my fingers, but I'm like keeping the side of my palm down.
Shit, yeah.
So my whole hand is like multitasking like
Wow.
a motherfucker. But, you know, then, so I do that, but it's like, I definitely was strict about like tattooing certain parts of the body because it was easier. I still am, and I don't want to say this like it's because it's not meant to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that, but like if it was a much bigger person, I still am not going to tattoo the ribs or the stomach, or
Impossible
I
to
can't
stretch it.
stretch enough, and I'm not going to give you a shitty tattoo.
Yeah.
You know, if it's some really skinny person who,
Maybe.
you know, has been like fit their whole life, and like, you know, it could be like me and they're skinny and stuff, but they had kids and doesn't matter because that skin is still stretchy as shit. I'm probably not going to tattoo their stomach or ribs or anything like that. But then if it's somebody who hasn't had children and everything hasn't stretched out and their skin's super tight, hell yeah, I'll still do it.
So lower arms and lower legs are like the go-to goal.
If like I asked you today, if you could pick an area on the body, for me, I love it from the knee down.
Yeah.
Like, that's
it's
my
flat,
go-to.
it's stretched out
Yeah.
on everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. What about before?
Honestly, I don't know if I thought about it before.
I didn't think about it till you asked me today.
Yeah.
I think out of form just aesthetically. And it's stretched out and kind of easy tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I had an area before.
There's
I
never
like
a go-to
tattooing
where
everything.
you slap tattoos. Like, this belongs there. You're drawing things unknowingly for certain spots.
No. Because I'm definitely, I mean, not that everybody's like this, but the kind of client that I am, I never go in and know where I'm getting tattooed. I usually go in and I'm like, yeah, I want that. Find the place that it fits the best.
That's the fucking best. No one's like that. That's bullshit.
That's how I get tattooed.
That's how you should get tattooed.
Yeah.
And I tell people, it's like, either pick the tattoo and put it where it fits best, or pick the spot and find a design that fits best.
Yeah.
Don't pick the tattoo and the spot and put it in the wrong fucking spot.
Yeah.
I think
it has to go, like, especially too, because
but were you always that way, or is that the tattooer in you knowing that?
No, I would say I was always that way.
Really?
I mean, other than like my first tattoo, because my mom was like, your tattoo can't show. So I did it on my back because she was like, it can't show. The school can't know about it.
Do you still have those?
Well, it's like partially covered because I have like a tiger, like a giant tiger head with like a dagger stabbing through it on my back, and like the dagger comes through and like definitely covers one of them, and then like the other one is still like half open because I was still supposed to get like stuff outlined on my butt and like the right trap or whatever it was, but I haven't. So they're partially there.
So with the body being cut in half and losing mobility in this half, and then not being able to walk and going to therapy for weeks, what do you get back and not get back? And then you have
and why
yeah. And then when you relearn things, you're learning them new. How does that work? Like,
okay, so
I don't know how you're gonna answer that question. I loaded it so confusing. But it's confusing. It's a miracle. It's amazing.
And like the only reason I even know now is like from experience and from learning so much about it, and studying everything I can on the internet, because like even the doctors, when they like explain things to me, like I was not prepared for like what my life was or what like my life was going to become. Like they even give you a binder like to leave the hospital with. It's like, but that shit didn't like, that doesn't tell you, like I literally was so pissed and was like, somebody should write a fucking book that is like the book that you hand people to people that have had strokes, and it's like, this is what your life's going to become. Get fucking prepared.
Because the people that gave you that book, the people that wrote it don't have experience in it.
Yeah, well, the book that the book that they actually give you is like, this is so bad because I've had a stroke and I should know this, but I don't. It's like, I think it's fast, and it's like FAST, and it's supposed to mean like, I don't know, honestly.
I couldn't think of it. I don't know.
It's
They need a book like in Beetlejuice,
it's
like,
supposed
so you're
to mean
dead.
like, you know, you something about like paying attention to like your speech, your fucking if you start to slur,
Right.
like, you know, what things happen, and it's like the order it's supposed to happen, so you're supposed to remember that. And it's like the book is on like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's not, I mean, it is useful and you're supposed to know that, but it's like, that wasn't the stuff that I need to know. Like, it should have been the stuff that says like, okay, you're going to have to relearn to walk, like relearn to talk. And then on top of that, like, you know, I couldn't multitask anymore. So like, if I was trying to text somebody and like my mom was talking to me at the same time, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. And I'd get mad and like angry and was like, stop talking to me. Like, you're interrupting. And was just like, it reminded me of old senile people. And I'd be like, and I would lose it. Or like, if I was like trying to make myself dinner and like somebody's talking at the same time, and then I hear like a baby crying in the background and a fucking cat meowing, I'd freak out. And it was like, it reminds me of like autistic kids and like why they get stressed out. And I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like,
I have a little bit of that. I can relate.
Yeah, that's what they're going through. Like,
I'll tune into the thing I don't want to listen to.
Exactly.
And only hear that thing.
Exactly. And I'm like, and I just start to panic. And I'm like, ugh, I don't like this. And so I feel like they should write a book that like tells you about all that stuff, the stuff that you're actually going to go through and the stuff that's actually going to stress you out and like, you know, that kind of stuff. And it just, they didn't prepare you at all. And I'm talking like, you know, when I said like it's split in half, I mean, one half of your brain controls one side, which is the opposite one actually. Mm-hmm. And then the other half of your brain controls the other side. And it's literally straight down the middle. And like, it's so much straight down the middle that it was like, I had to go pee. And I would like sit there and I'm like, and I knew I had to go pee, like definitely go pee. I'm going to pee my pants. And I am sitting there and I'm like, but I can't remember how to feel, like to make myself go pee. And I'm like, and then like I'm trying to remember and like I can kind of feel on like one side and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is what? Like, you know, it had done that like straight down the middle. Like, same thing. Like, I didn't post videos or pictures of myself for the first couple of months because like I had like the full drooping and like it.
So how do you get that
pulled
back?
my face down. So I did a shit ton of acupuncture.
Really?
Got my face stabbed with needles up the yin
And
yang.
it worked.
And I went for 8 months, every couple weeks, and
it's just activating those muscles, trying to get the memory back.
And I did like pulse electronic magnetic field therapy. I went to
sounds like some Scientology stuff.
Yeah, I went
don't know
to
if I trust that.
Hyperbolic oxygen chamber therapy.
What's that?
It's where you sit in a
like a pressurized thing.
Yeah, like so it's meant for people that
like iron lung.
like the welders that like go underwater and like, you know, and they end up getting the bubbles. Like, it's supposed to be to like help people like with that kind of stuff, but it also can be like for 3rd-degree burns, or like if you get bit by a crazy spider, it helps you like heal faster, like way faster. So I had heard about that a long time ago, actually, way before all of this. I had a massage therapist that I went to. And she had gotten in a wicked gnarly car accident, and she swore up and down that like the only reason, because like they said she would never walk again, never massage again, never hike, never do anything. And now she hikes more than anybody I know. Yeah. And obviously she massages, you know, she was my massage therapist, and she was like, everything that I could say that like I can say that all of the credit goes to is hyperbolic therapy. And I thought about that, and I was like, so I started doing a bunch of research, and like there are people that have gone to it for strokes. There's no like proven, you know, records on like it actually being helpful.
Wasn't acupuncture and all that stuff too? It's also scientifically, it's kind of a...
Well, it's all like Eastern medicine.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, you know, not guaranteed. Most doctors say you're going to be wasting your money, but all of that kind of medicine has been the most beneficial in my recovery.
I think the problem is that
with stroke,
each practitioner has a little magic, and it's not like a trade where you can learn, like, you can go to a shitty acupuncture therapist, you know?
But so
not guaranteed, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's how I had gotten like a lot of my face back. And I also did Botox and, you know, countless other things. I've spent a lot of money on my health.
Good. It's important.
Yeah. So
you don't know how much it's worth until it goes to something like that.
Right. And so, it was really like split up and down, like straight up. And they tell you, my therapist that I had that were like the inpatient therapy, the reason that your foot, you regain the most of it back and faster than your hand is because you walk on your feet every day. So you're forcing yourself to get up. You want to go pee. Like if I would have just gave up and just like accepted being in a wheelchair, then I would have never gotten better. And like my foot would still be just as bad as my arm. But because I was just like, you know, a stubborn asshole, was like, you're not helping me to the bathroom every single time I go to the bathroom. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. But my hand, I don't walk on my hands. You don't have that weight that's on it, and it needs the weight that's on it so that it is, so that your all your nerves are firing, and because it's like constantly just sitting there and just hanging, like it doesn't have like any sort of sensory stuff going on versus like I'm constantly walking on my foot. So that's why like there's the difference between the leg and the arm. And personally, I don't know if this is for sure. I think that the reason why I haven't regained my hand back, and why some people, you know, because in some strokes, some people do gain their stuff back. Some people don't. Some people, you know, all of that. I think that people that have ischemic strokes have a lot more likelihood of regaining stuff back because it's just their oxygen cut off. Not that it's not dangerous, and it's still like it takes a long time to recover from, but it's just the oxygen cut off. So eventually your brain will get better. Versus I had a brain bleed. So, you know, and like I said, when your brain bleeds and touches your brain, it kills it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I will keep getting better if I can like master teaching my brain, like teaching other parts of my brain to learn new things.
Yeah.
So, you know, as far as the hard part with the hand is there's just not enough, because like I don't even have like a grip or enough anything to where I could even just be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to carry a duffel bag today. Like there's just no grip. Like as soon as I put something heavy weighted, my hand just goes, whoa, and just like, let's go. So, like I'll try to do push-ups, which I can do it, but it's like a struggle. And like, I like put my hand down, but then like my hand starts to panic, like, cause the muscles start to like, all of them start to fire, and my knuckles start to like go like this. And then like the hand starts to like stay up, and then trying to do a push-up like that, you know, so I can only do so many. And they say the way that you learn stuff and remember stuff is with repetition. And I've got 30 years worth of, you know, it's going to take forever, you know, to get to that point.
Yeah.
And, I'm doing it, but especially because I had so much atrophy, like from being like not walking for so long and being in a hospital bed, and like they won't allow you to walk. They even have like alarms on the beds that scream when you get off of them, because they don't want you walking, because like you can hurt yourself or whatever.
You can.
Yeah.
Even that.
But
that's why you got in so
I'm
good,
a stubborn
though.
asshole.
Yeah,
like, I got caught for getting off my bed and
yeah.
not listening to them a lot. But they,
oh man.
a bunch of friends came to visit me one time, and like assholes kept making me laugh and laugh and laugh. And like I kept ringing that buzzer and like the nurse didn't come fast enough. And so like they made me laugh again and I pissed my pants. And there was like nothing I could do about it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing that again. Fuck you. I'm walking to the bathroom, like whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But, you know, there was alarms and they would go off and I get why they're doing it, but like I'm not an 80-year-old. Like I get why everybody else is being treated like that, but like I'm not, you know, I don't want to be treated that way. So, which, you know, that's why I'm at where I'm at. And like, that's what it's taken to get to where I'm at. But yeah, I don't know. It's been crazy.
That's incredible. That resilience is crazy.
Yeah.
Where do you get that from? Like even as a kid, like I need to get straight A's to get a tattoo. Cool, done. Like how? How do you have that? Where is that? How? I want.
I mean, I could honestly
selling any. I'll buy a little bit of that.
I could say where I think it comes from, but it ain't a pretty place. I had a really rough father.
Yeah.
Like a really rough father, and I think because I mean, not that I would ever wish it on anybody or, you know, but at the same time, like I am super thankful for it. Because I think it made me who I am.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my dad, when I was 19, called me, and we've never had a good relationship. We've always had a really rough relationship, and not a very friendly one. But he called me when I was 19, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he had squamous skin cell carcinoma, and they told him he had 6 months left to live. And if he did chemo, he had a year. But the chemo was only going to give him 6 months. And he was like, okay, well, fuck you guys. Like, I'd rather just not be sick and not be, like, feeling like shit the whole time. And just go out with my 6 months and enjoy my 6 months than to struggle. So my dad went out and took a motorhome and just started traveling the country. Ended up at some raw food festival because my dad's kind of a hippie. Ended up at a raw food festival. My dad became a raw foodist. Completely went raw food. Vegan, all that. Everything, the shebang.
Yeah.
With food alone. Literally food, because my dad never went back to the hospital. He had this tumor that was in his throat, and it was like this big. And he never went back to the hospital. Completely gone. My dad's still alive till this day.
Just from being raw vegan? Just
yep.
That's incredible.
Yep. And you know, and he's still alive. And I used to say, I have no idea where you get that willpower from. Like, I could never give up cheese because I love cheese. And I'm just like, I'm not forced to give up cheese, so I haven't. But in this situation, I was just like, wow, I've had to give up a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me before, I would have been like, yeah, I would have just died. There's no way I'd do that. But like, it's like in reality, you know, it's like the same thing. Like a couple of my coworkers in Vegas told me, like, if this happened to me, I would just give up tattooing. And I'm like, okay, but you guys are parents. Like, because everybody I work with is, you know, has kids. And I'm like, how would you pay for your kids? How would you take care of things? Like, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, literally, I can't get a job doing anything else. I have a disability. Like, I'm too angry and I pop off about everything, you know, stuff like I can't remember stuff. I don't have strength, so I can't carry things. My balance is bad. Yeah, I mean, I do tattoo, but it's like...
No, I'm saying you're too tattooed.
Oh, yeah. So, and I'm too tattooed. And I was just like, how am I going to get a job? And I was like, I have to make this work. Like, I've got to figure it out. And luckily, like, in tattooing, like, you just have to sit and you just have to draw. Like, if I would have had the kind of stroke that, like, attacked the part of my brain that was artistic, yeah, it would have screwed me forever.
Right.
Like, but... that didn't happen to me, and I got lucky enough, and I, you know, still was able to. And so I like told them that, and they were like, yeah, well, that's true. And I'm like, Yeah, but either way, you're going to keep saying what you say until you're put in that situation. Right. And then you're just like, it's like if there was an apocalypse.
Find out who's who real quick.
There's zombies coming and they're going to kill your kids. Like, you're going to handle shit. You're going to do it. Like,
you love zombies. I feel like
it's a good use. So it's a good use. Not that it ever happens, but it's a good use.
Yeah.
But yeah. No. So I think that some of it kind of like ties back to him and like that.
Yeah.
And like a lot of my childhood and the way I was raised, and I didn't have much of a childhood. Like I was raised very much like an adult and like treated like an adult, and just had to grow up really quick. And I think that being raised that way, it just kind of like put me on in that mindset, and I didn't ever want to be like someone's responsibility or have to ever rely on them, like, and because of what I had gone through, and like I needed to figure shit out, and I needed to make my own money, and I needed to have my own career, and I needed to be able to do everything on my own.
I mean, you never
because of what I'd gone through.
You never get to like choose the cards you're dealt, but you get to choose how you deal with them.
Yeah.
And maybe that toughness gave you some toughness in how to deal with life.
Yeah, I think so.
It's super cool.
Thanks.
I mean, it is so quick, just a couple of years, and then I mean, obviously I follow you closely and see your work, and I mean, even seeing you like tattoo that stomach yesterday, it was just blown away. I'm like, she's tattooing a lower stomach right now.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy to me. That's crazy to me. I think it's so cool. It's so cool and so inspiring. And it's like, it's, oh, well, what if this happened? What if this happened? And I guess you find out what happens and find out who's who real quick. And like, I always say that in tattooing, like, no matter how someone got in, was apprenticeship or hard work too long, or, the hard way or the right way or whatever, wrong way, there's so many reasons, like, there's so many roadblocks, and the people who are tattooing today, none of them probably should have been, but they're people that didn't quit and didn't give up. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time finding words. I just couldn't imagine going through that, but it's so inspiring, and it makes me feel like, man, like, it is possible. And I think other people hear this story, and then you finding that guy Southpaw tattooer, and it's striking at people like immediately like, oh, I'll just give up. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I think like that, but
I mean, I was like that. I did. I like for. But it's only because there's no representation.
There's no. You never saw anyone that could overcome.
Yeah.
But you're someone that's doing it. Well, and then so people see this and they don't have to think first thought like, oh, I can't do that. Bullshit. I've seen you do that. Yeah. It's possible.
I mean, I thought,
just like that first tattoo, you're like, oh, it's there.
I thought it was over for the first couple months, and I was like, before I had tried.
Yeah.
And I was like, that it's just tattooing's over for me. But then I was sitting there and I was sulking, in my freaking own tears, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm, because when I had the stroke, I was only 29. I'm 29. I'm going to sit in this bed for the rest of my life until I'm old enough to die, which who knows when that's going to be. Like, that can't happen. I'm too young. This sucks. And that's like, that was enough for me to be like, okay, I need to fucking figure this out. And that's like what pushed me, because I was just like, I can't sit in this bed for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And like, I refuse to have other people do things for me. No, like I don't accept it. And then that's when I figured it out. And I definitely struggle still. Like,
of course.
You should see how many things I break in my house. Like, it's not on purpose. It's just trying to do shit one-handed. Like, I drop, all kinds of jars. I, cut things, break things. Like, and I just, the other day I tried to open a yogurt, and then the yogurt just like, because I was trying to like pull the lid off like with one hand, it like flew at me, and the yogurt went all on my legs, the whole couch, and then the yogurt landed upside down on the carpet. Normally I would have just like raged, and then I was just like, oh, okay, this is bullshit. This sucks. And then I just picked the yogurt up and just ate it.
Fuck yeah.
Just like,
Fuck yeah.
you.
Yeah, 5-second rule
Yeah.
clearly stands. Yeah, but you didn't let it ruin your day.
Yeah.
Sat
No,
fucking
I
licked
actually,
that yogurt off that carpet that day.
Yeah, I actually would have been super pissed, like, you know, beforehand. I definitely would have been like, what the fuck?
What can you do?
Now I laughed and was like, this is bullshit. And I was like, but at the same time, like, fuck it. Like, picked the yogurt up, ate what was left of the inside. Then afterwards was like, okay, I should probably clean, you know, my clothes off. And then I went to work.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much for like working with me this weekend. It's been so cool.
Yeah, heck yeah.
It's really, really cool. Really inspiring. And it's like just seeing the way you go about things. Like, I mean, it doesn't seem like you have any disability.
I definitely don't want to seem like I do.
You don't. I just see like
off.
extraordinary ability. I'm like, like I can do what you can do with one hand. I'm like, fuck, man, I can't. You know, I don't. I just. It's. I don't have words for it. It's really cool. It's really inspiring.
Well, thanks. I am giving it my best. That's for sure.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where to next? Because you're back at it. You're on the road again. You're hungry. You're a new tattooer.
Yeah.
It's a new chapter.
Right now, I'm just like chasing every guest spot. And
yeah.
I'm still tattooing like half the time in Vegas and then half the time at my shop as well. Right now, I'm doing that.
Now you're making time to do. You're doing LA. You've done here.
Yeah, I got LA coming up, and then I'm gonna be in Mesa at Immaculate, and so I'm gonna keep doing quite a bit of guest spots, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I don't know where completely because like I just chose Kingman and was like, okay, this is the good spot for like my starting over and like restarting my career. Where I want to go afterwards, I don't know, because I don't even know if I'm gonna go back to like, you know, Vegas or if I'm gonna end up coming back to California or you know where. I would say that I'm still like I was before, wherever the job opportunity is.
I love that.
So,
yeah, you'll find out when it happens.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's end this there. I think that's a good place. I like that ending.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.